All right, buckle up, everybody. We're diving deep into the world of AI, specifically those incredible models that can see and talk at the same time.
You mean vision language models?
Exactly. VLMs, and you can think of them like,
Supercharged image search.
yeah, way smarter, way more powerful, because we're talking about AI that can understand and answer seriously complex questions, not just find you similar pictures.
And what we're exploring today is even more exciting because it's all about real user interactions with these VLMs, not just what goes on in some controlled lab setting.
Absolutely. We've got this brand new data set, VisionArena, it's called, and it's massive.
Over 230,000 real conversations.
With real people talking to VLMs, the whole data set comes from a platform called Chatbot Arena. Have you heard of this?
Oh yeah, Chatbot Arena is fascinating because it's not just about chatting with AI, it's structured as a head-to-head competition.
Like a battle of the bots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Users get to compare different VLMs side by side, and then they vote for their favorite. So it's not just about did the AI get the right answer.
It's about what real people actually found helpful or even just more fun to use.
And that's what makes this data set so valuable. We get to see how people are actually using these models, what they're really looking for in the real world.
Okay, so let's get into this VisionArena data. The researchers have analyzed all these conversations to figure out what kinds of questions people are asking these VLMs, and we're way past the describe this image stage, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's so much more diverse now. The kinds of questions are incredible.
Like, for example, I was blown away by the fact that people are using VLMs to solve math problems.
Yeah, even decipher diagrams. There were even requests for help with homework.
I mean, are students secretly using AI tutors now?
It wouldn't surprise me. And it goes even further. There were a ton of questions about coding and web design, which shows how this technology is really becoming a part of our everyday lives.
It's everywhere. So remember how Chatbot Arena is set up like a battle, right? Well, all those user votes actually created a leaderboard.
Showing which VLMs were the most popular.
Are you surprised to see the usual suspects at the top?
Not really. The top spots are all the powerhouses. Models like Google's Gemini and OpenAI's GPT-4. It's pretty much what you'd expect.
Makes sense. But here's a twist. The highest ranking open source model was Intern VL.
Ah, yeah, intern VL. This is significant because it means access to this technology isn't just in the hands of these giant tech companies.
Open source for the win. But here's a question. How much of this ranking is actually about the AI's intelligence versus other factors?
You've hit on a really crucial point because we're talking about user preference here, not just cold, hard accuracy.
Right. It's like which AI did people enjoy using the most, not just which one got the most answers, right?
Exactly. And when the researchers dug deeper, they found something really interesting. They called it style over substance.
Wait, style over substance. So
Yeah.
how the AI presented the information actually mattered more than the information itself.
Exactly. Things like how long the response was, whether it used bullet points, even how specific the AI was. All of that had a big impact on how people voted.
It's like judging a book by its cover. We like what looks good, even if the content is the same, and Intern VL, that top open source model, seems to have mastered this.
They mentioned it uses longer, nicely formatted responses, which might give it an edge over other AIs that are equally smart, but maybe not as polished.
So maybe it's not just about being smart, it's about being a good communicator too, which makes you wonder, what are we really measuring in these battles?
Right. Are we rewarding genuine understanding, problem solving, or are we just favoring a more appealing presentation?
It's a fascinating question, and it makes me think about the areas where even the best VLMs are still struggling. What are those challenges?
Well, the researchers found some intriguing failure cases, and these are really valuable because they point to the gaps in what VLMs can do right now.
Give me some examples. I love a good AI stumble.
One that stood out involved a visual pun. Can you believe that? A visual pun with a cat and the concept of a square root.
A cat and a square root. I am intrigued. How does that even work as a visual pun?
Well, the image tried to play with the way a cat's fur pattern looks, like a smaller cat nested inside a bigger one, and connect that to the idea of a square root being like a smaller version of a number. But it was too complex,
Even for these super advanced AIs.
even for them. And it shows how much difficulty AI still has with visual reasoning, connecting images to these abstract concepts.
So even though VLMs are getting really good at recognizing objects and understanding basic relationships, abstract thinking is still a hurdle.
Definitely. Another example involved a map. It was a complicated map with lots of intersecting lines, and the task was to trace a specific route. but even the best VLMs couldn't do it reliably.
Sounds like a spatial reasoning challenge.
Exactly, which is crucial for things like navigation, robotics, and these were real questions that people asked, by the way.
Not some made-up tests.
No, these came straight from the both bad category in the dataset, meaning users looked at the responses from both VLMs in the battle and said, nope, neither of these are good enough.
So these weren't trick questions. They were genuine struggles that real users encountered. But enough about the failures. Let's talk about how this VisionArena dataset is actually being used to make VLMs better. I always love the practical applications of research.
Right, well, the researchers took all the conversations from the top-performing VLMs and used them to train a brand new model.
So they're using the collective wisdom of the users to boost the AI's performance.
It's like learning by example from the best of the best. And it actually worked. This new model, trained on real-world interactions, got significantly better when tested against those established benchmarks.
Wow, that's incredible. It's amazing how real-world data can be used to drive AI development, and this kind of feedback loop where user interactions lead to better AI, which then leads to even more sophisticated interactions. It's really exciting.
Absolutely, and it brings us to another fascinating aspect of VisionArena. Remember how we were discussing style over substance? Well, it turns out user preferences are influenced by some pretty subtle things.
Like, what beyond just the nicely formatted response, what other stylistic factors are at play?
One key factor is specificity, how detailed the AI's answer is.
So whether the AI gives you a general overview or goes into the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. And the preferred level of specificity actually depends on the type of question. For tasks like entity recognition, where you're trying to identify specific things in an image, users really like those highly specific responses.
Makes sense. If you're asking who's this person in the photo, you want a name, not a vague description.
Right. But for things like those homework questions, too much specificity might actually be a bad thing.
Oh, interesting. Why would too much detail be bad in that case?
Think about it from a student's perspective. If you're trying to learn, you don't want the AI to just hand you the answer.
You want it to guide you through the process.
Exactly. Help you understand how to get to the solution, not just give you the final outcome. It's like that saying, give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime.
I like that analogy. So an AI that's only focused on maximizing user preference might end up giving super detailed answers all the time.
Even when it's not the most helpful approach.
Because it knows people tend to reward that specificity, even if it hinders learning.
That's why research like this is so important. It helps us understand these nuances and develop ways to evaluate AI that go beyond just these surface-level metrics.
So we need to assess not just what the AI says, but how it says it, and whether that's actually conducive to learning or problem solving.
Precisely. We need to make sure we're rewarding genuine understanding, not just a good presentation.
Now, we've talked a lot about English, but this VisionArena dataset isn't just limited to English, is it?
You're right. It actually covers a whopping 138 languages.
Wow, 138 languages. That's incredible. Does this mean these VLMs are becoming multilingual masters?
Well, it's not quite that simple. While the dataset is multilingual, the distribution isn't equal. English still makes up the majority.
Not surprising, considering how dominant English is online, but what about the other languages? What did the researchers find there?
One interesting thing was how the performance of different VLMs varied across languages. Some models that did great in English didn't do as well in other languages.
So even the top models are still struggling with the language gap. It's one thing to be good at one language, it's another to be truly multilingual.
It's definitely a challenge. And bridging that gap is a major focus in AI research, however. The researchers did find some encouraging signs.
Oh, like what?
Well, some models actually performed better in specific languages compared to their overall average.
That suggests maybe different models have different strengths depending on the language they were trained on.
Exactly. It's not one size fits all, which emphasizes the need for more diverse data sets. If we want to accurately evaluate these models, we need to test them across a wide range of languages and cultural contexts.
We can't just focus on English. We need to look at the global picture. Okay, so we've covered a lot, what people are asking AI to do, how it's responding, where it's succeeding, and where it's still falling short. But you mentioned earlier that VisionArena has practical applications beyond just research. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure, one exciting development is VisionArena Bench. It's a curated subset of the dataset, designed specifically for evaluating VLMs.
So it's like a standardized test for AI.
Exactly, but what's interesting is that it's based on human preferences, not just traditional accuracy metrics.
How does that work?
It uses something called VLM as a judge. where another VLM, in this case GPT-4, is used to evaluate the responses from the models being tested.
So it's AI judging AI.
Pretty much. And it's all about scalability. Getting human judgments can be time-consuming and expensive, especially for large-scale evaluations. But using GPT-4 as the judge is like a shortcut.
To understanding what real people would think.
Exactly. And the research shows that VisionArena Bench is pretty good at predicting the rankings that would come from actual human votes on a platform like Chatbot Arena.
That's really impressive. So now developers have this streamlined way to evaluate their models and see how they stack up against the competition, which could speed up the whole innovation process.
Exactly. It's like having a rapid prototyping lab for AI, where developers can test out their latest creations and see which ones really resonate with users.
It's all about pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
And remembering that these benchmarks aren't static, they're constantly evolving. As VLMs get better, we need to keep adapting to accurately reflect the progress being made.
It's a dynamic process, always moving forward, and it makes me think back to those failure cases, the ones even the most advanced VLMs couldn't handle. If you had the chance to interact with a VLM, what would you ask it to do? What challenge would you throw its way?
That's a great question, and it really gets to the heart of what drives progress in this field. Data sets like VisionArena give us a snapshot of where we are with VLMs today. They show us the amazing things these models can do, but they also highlight their limitations.
It's like a roadmap that reveals both our current location and the exciting destinations that lie ahead.
Exactly. For anyone listening who's feeling inspired to explore this world further, I highly recommend checking out the VisionArena dataset for yourself. The link is in the abstract of the research paper we've been discussing. Diving into this data firsthand can give you a really fascinating glimpse into the future of how humans and AI will interact.
It reminds us that AI isn't just some abstract concept. It's already woven into our lives in significant ways, and understanding how it works, where it excels, and where it still needs work is crucial for anyone who wants to navigate this rapidly evolving landscape.
I couldn't agree more. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the vast ocean of knowledge.
It's like having a rapid prototyping lab for AI, where developers can quickly test out their latest creations and see which ones resonate most with users.
That's a great way to put it. And it's crucial to remember that these benchmarks aren't static. They're constantly evolving as VLMs get better.
It's a dynamic process of pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And speaking of pushing boundaries, it makes me think back to those failure cases we discussed earlier, the ones that even the most sophisticated VLMs couldn't handle.
Right, the visual pun with the cat and the square root.
Exactly. If you had the chance to interact with a VLM, what would you ask it to do? What challenge would you throw its way?
That's a fantastic question, and it really gets to the heart of what drives progress in this field.
It all starts with a question.
Data sets like VisionArena, they give us a snapshot of where we stand with VLMs today.
We see what they can do.
The amazing things these models can do, but also highlight their limitations.
It's like a roadmap.
Exactly. It reveals both our current location and those exciting destinations that lie ahead.
I like that. A roadmap for the future of AI.
And for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to explore this world further, I highly recommend checking out the VisionArena dataset for yourself. The link is in the abstract of the research paper we've been discussing.
Yeah, go check it out. It's fascinating stuff.
Diving into this data firsthand can give you a really fascinating glimpse into the future of how humans and AI will interact.
It's a reminder that AI isn't just some abstract concept. It's already woven into our lives in significant ways.
And understanding how it works, where it excels, and where it still needs work.
It's crucial for anyone who wants to navigate this rapidly evolving landscape.
I couldn't agree more. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the vast ocean of knowledge.
It's like having a rapid prototyping lab for AI, where developers can quickly test out their latest creations and see which ones resonate most with users.
That's a great way to put it, and it's crucial to remember that these benchmarks aren't static. They're constantly evolving as VLMs get better.
It's a dynamic process of pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And speaking of pushing boundaries, it makes me think back to those failure cases we discussed earlier, the ones that even the most sophisticated VLMs couldn't handle.
Right. The visual pun with the cat and the square root.
Exactly. If you had the chance to interact with a VLM, what would you ask it to do? What challenge would you throw its way?
That's a fantastic question, and it really gets to the heart of what drives progress in this field.
It all starts with a question.
Datasets like VisionArena, they give us a snapshot of where we stand with VLMs today.
We see what they can do.
The amazing things these models can do, but also highlight their limitations.
It's like a roadmap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It reveals both our current location and those exciting destinations that lie ahead.
I like that. A roadmap for the future of AI.
And for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to explore this world further, I highly recommend checking out the Vision Arena dataset for yourself. The link is in the abstract of the research paper we've been discussing.
Yeah, go check it out. It's fascinating stuff.
Diving into this data firsthand can give you a really fascinating glimpse into the future of how humans and AI will interact.
It's a reminder that AI isn't just some abstract concept. It's already woven into our lives in significant ways.
And understanding how it works, where it excels, and where it still needs work.
It's crucial for anyone who wants to navigate this rapidly evolving landscape.
I couldn't agree more. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the vast ocean of knowledge.